Welcome to the Skydance Mountain Author Spotlight, an arm of Authors on the Mountain, the show for creatives of all types: authors, writers, poets, musicians, artists, dancers, and craftsmen. All those who draw inspiration from creativity and from being creative. If you are an author or creator looking for motivation and innovative inspiration, this show is for you. As Stephen Pressfield says, creative work is a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us what you've got. And to that we say, Amen. This is Brett, founder and creative director at Skydance Mountain. So glad you're here today. Let's get creative. We are here today talking with Elizabeth Woolsey and Camryn McGlynn, formerly known as Camryn Chapman. And we've all got to remember that name. Actually, Elizabeth's been very good about that because Camryn was recently married. Welcome to Authors on the Mountain, both of you. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Good. So we're just going to have a fun and casual conversation. I want to talk a little bit, and you guys talk about the process, how you met, what the process was like working together as an author and a narrator, a voiceover artist, very talented, both of you. And as the producer of the project, this project was extremely fun for me. And we're still in the process because we've got book 4 to work on yet. So to begin the whole thing off with, Elizabeth, would you tell us just a little bit about your background for those who don't know and haven't seen the previous episode we interviewed you on? And also, I just wanted to mention how we met on I discovered you on the Carly Cade Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast, which she just chooses the best equine-related horses. And I was so impressed with your story. You're a retired veterinarian. You had been in Australia, yet you have no accent. You have an accent. It's just an American accent. And I just was enthralled, and I reached out to you and said, you need an audiobook, and you jumped on it right away. So take it from there. How did this whole process work out for you? What's your background?
Okay, so I've been writing books for about almost 3 years now, maybe just a little bit longer. And I'm an audiobook fanatic. I just ran to the store today and I went, oh my God, I get to put my new book on. I'm so excited. So, and not my book, just a book I'm reading. And for every book that I actually read these days, I probably listen to 4 or 5 audiobooks, because if I'm home now, I'm not going to sit and read, I'm going to write. So these days, most of my outside entertainment is audiobooks. So I'd always wanted to. And when you contacted me, I'd actually already started the process, but I was finding it a bit daunting, and especially finding voices that I liked. So when you said, let's do it, and you named a price that was really good. I mean, let's face it, to me, it was perfect. We started looking for voices, and we went through quite a few voices before we found Susie, who is the voice of Rebecca Harper, and does a brilliant job. I mean, she's so good at it, and it was just the voice that I liked. And so we got the 2 first books done, and then the 3rd book I knew was going to be the daughter, and we wanted somebody that could really do a really good Southern accent. And so we went through ACX and a whole bunch of places. I looked around for Southern accents. I was looking for something similar to I can't think of the artist, but anyway, Legally Blonde. Who was that?
Reese Witherspoon.
Yes.
Reese Witherspoon. She has a great, subtle, but she can really do a good Southern accent. So anyway, I wasn't finding anybody. I don't know if Reese was available or not. I probably should have asked her the last time I talked to her. No, I never talked to her in my life. So anyway,
I'm glad she wasn't available because we got Camryn.
Yeah, no, me too. I'd be selling the house to pay for that puppy. Anyway, so anyway, so I thought about it, and I said, well, where's some good Southern accents? So I went to Auburn University, and this character, Rebecca Harper's daughter, Lauren, went to Auburn too. And she lived in Kentucky. Well, I lived in California before, so I just don't get accents. I don't change it. I've got a daughter who can do every accent known to man, but I can't do that. So I I thought about it and I thought, why don't I call the Auburn University School of Performing Arts or Art? And I got on the secretary with the perfect person. Oh my God, she was so good. And but for various reasons, she didn't want to do it. But I said, well, look, I'm looking for somebody. So she set me up with 5 women, I think, who sent me phone readings. I sent them about a paragraph, and they or a chapter, I can't remember. And so they all sent demos. There wasn't one that wasn't good. There was not one. There was one woman that I went, I can't remember her name, that I thought this woman could do this the rest of her life and never have to worry again. But it wasn't quite right. So the very last one that I got was from Camryn, and I listened to it and I thought, yeah, this is it. And so I sent it on to you, Brett. And so, and then Camryn, maybe you could tell us your point of view.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had seen it from Auburn University. It had gone through the theater channels, and we, kind of get these blast email alerts. And I thought it sounded really cool. And I was talking with some of my friends about it, and they're like, "Oh, you should definitely do it." They actually sent it a few times into our group chat, and they're like, "Camryn, like, you should do this." And I was like, "Okay." That's like, it sounded so amazing. It sounded perfect. And so I emailed you and I got the blurb, and I remember I was like sitting in my little bedroom, like I had to use my phone because I just used voice memos on it because I didn't have anything. And I sent it your way, and you were just so wonderful and warm. And I was like, if I get the opportunity to work with her, that would just be absolutely wonderful. But I remember it was a very quick process, and I was like, talking to my fiance, now husband, about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never wanted anything more in my life. Like I would love to be Lauren in this book. Like this sounds like a dream. And it has been. It's been wonderful.
As I like to say to people, I hired you for the voice. I didn't realize I was hiring the real Lauren Harper, because
Amen.
this voice is Lauren's voice. You look like Lauren could look, little curlier hair, but and I think you should say that you were raised in Auburn, and you actually had a Southern
Yes.
accent as a child, didn't you?
I did.
How did you lose that accent?
So intentionally. Both my parents are from Alabama. So my dad's from Gadsden, my mom's from Huntsville. And so my grandparents are very Southern. And as I was growing up, was just like, I said y'all like 4 or 5 times in a sentence. And I just decided that was maybe a little bit too far one way. So I kind of started trying to get more of just a standard accent that was just across the board, and very quickly tried to, disassociate from the extreme Southern, but I still have it in my repertoire. Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I lived in Nashville for several years, and when I first heard your voice, that sounded so authentic, and you felt like family, even though I'm from Maryland and moved to Nashville for a while. But what really blew me away, Camryn, was when I was listening to your voiceover and you're doing the voice of Lauren, and then somebody without an accent. It's like, who is that? She can do the non-Southern accent so well, because I just pictured you with a strong, full Southern accent, and that's how you talk. So it's interesting what a talent you have for doing both of those. Don't you agree, Elizabeth?
Thank you.
Yeah, I honestly think I one of the reasons I really wanted to do this podcast was to promote her, because you have this ability to do voices, and it's like acting with you. It really is like you read it out loud like I think it on paper. but I couldn't possibly read that and do that myself. So I just think you're an undiscovered talent, and I'm hoping that some in interim until you're discovered and you become the next Reese Witherspoon and you forget us, that
Reese
at
who?
some point along the line I can go, I'm the one that found her. So anyway, so you and the other thing that was so good was that you were so enthusiastic, and man, you plowed through that so quickly. You had a performance, I think, that you were doing a final performance, you were graduating, and you were getting married, and yet you fit in the entire book in between, and there wasn't maybe 5 weeks. It was like ridiculously fast, and it was so good. And if we found something like, sometimes a lot of people mispronounce words, and that, or either that or I mispronounce them, but I want you to mispronounce them like I do. So we would have corrections, and it was like, the next day we would have the corrections. So you just were a dream to work with. It was
Absolutely. So professional. And yeah, the turnaround time was so quick. And I just want you to know, Camryn, that's not normal. So you
Oh,
delivered.
don't tell her that.
Well, it is now. You showed that it could be. You set the bar pretty high for the other voiceovers. I do have to say this too. As a producer, having worked with several voiceover actors and narrators and authors who read their own books, I thought, Elizabeth, when I first started working with you, I thought, dang, she is really picky. And it took a while to find Susie Lerner, who we're going to have on here too at some point, who was amazing. And she did a great, I mean, it took a while for you to settle in on her even. And after we found Camryn, and I sent you a couple demos, or at least no, I think I sent you a couple. And one was a friend who came in. I thought, well, she's doing a pretty good job. And then we heard this other artist who did a great job. But then when I heard Camryn, and you're talking about her acting, I told Melissa, my wife, I said, listen to this. And Camryn, it was that I think it was the first chapter, I'm a vet. And it was the pauses, it was the breath. It was, like you said, Elizabeth, it was as if you're watching a movie is how it felt. And obviously you are an actress, and that's what you do. So it's a blessing to have you on this project.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So sweet.
So all that said, what was your experience like, Camryn, from your angle, your view? Tell us maybe what was the hardest thing about it and what was the easiest thing about it.
I mean, I think one of the harder things was juggling everything at the same time. But I mean, it was also really fun. I love being busy. I love, having things to do. And also I think the vet lingo, like Elizabeth was talking about earlier, like I called Elizabeth. She always answered. And I was so grateful for that I had, just her on the phone being able to tell me exactly how it's pronounced. But I also told my husband the other day, I was like, people like, whoever monitors my search history is probably like, is this girl, does she want to become a veterinarian? Is she very into horses at this point? Because all of my YouTube videos are like, how do you pronounce this? Or like watching like a vet course. So it'll tell me how to, say the words.
Yes.
But
you didn't play one on TV, but you played one in an audiobook.
Right.
You might play one on TV someday. Who knows? This might be preparation for who knows what down the road. Or if maybe Elizabeth releases the travels of Dr. Rebecca Harper into the theater, which I think it would be an amazing thing. It's such a great story, isn't it?
Yeah. It's wonderful. I think it would do so well.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. I'm always open to that idea, that's for sure. Well, one of the things that I was thinking about doing that I think would be really fun is to have Camryn read just a tiny bit, so the viewers can get a feel for what we saw.
Yeah, I like that idea. Did you have something in a particular segment in mind?
Yeah, I asked her to pick something out that she could just read for a second. Well, maybe a little bit longer, but just so the listeners could hear what we heard.
I love it.
Go for it.
Okay, I had two different ones. There was one from chapter 1, just talking about her grandpa, and then there was one that I found in chapter 2, talking about her mom being killed in the rock side.
Why don't you start with
Okay.
one and then maybe do the other and we can edit it out or do both.
Yeah.
I used to spend the summer with my grandfather when I was about 7 years old. He drove to Kentucky to pick me up. My mom, who had my younger brother and sister, was happy to shed one kid, even if it was only for a month or two. Grandpa and I flew to Reno to borrow horses and ride all over the area where she was considered to be buried. My dad searched for several months after my mom went missing, but he had to return to school and work. We were lucky because my aunt stayed with me while my dad studied and worked. My dad married my aunt 2 years after my bio mother went missing. I call her mom. She's my bio mom's older sister, yet I don't ever remember her as anyone but my mom. I think about my biological mom occasionally. To be honest, however, my interest in her has faded.
Very good.
Wow.
I'd like to see your I like to see your face when you're doing that. Yeah, you definitely. This comes a movie, baby. You're it.
I agree. You sound just like the girl who did the audiobook.
I'll sacrifice my pay to make sure you get that.
Oh, goodness.
Do you want to do the other one
Oh
too?
my goodness, I got goosebumps. Yes.
I know.
If you'd like me to, I can.
Yeah, I do. We're just going to do it for an hour.
My mom had been killed in a rock slide along with a woman vet from Lake Tahoe. They had ridden up to a place called Miners Meadow. Both had been presumed killed when a massive rock fall occurred along the ridge where they were riding. The remains of both horses and the older vet were found, but my mother was never located. I was only 3 years old at the time. I don't remember anything about it. My grandpa spent years trying to find her. When I was old enough to ride, I joined him. I didn't really know why we searched, but I loved being with him in the summer. Finally, when he was too old to make the trip from his home in Montana, I went up there to spend some time with him for a few weeks each summer. He taught me how to ride and took me to his cabin in the mountains. Grandpa died a few years earlier while I was still in vet school.
Really good.
Beautiful. Wonderful. So I'd love to hear more, Camryn, a little bit more of your background, your studies, what your goals in life, what you wanted to do. Before Elizabeth came into your life, even with this book, what was your future looking like to you?
Well, I graduated in May, but I graduated from Auburn University with a BFA in performance theater. And I also have a concentration in costumes, which is unrelated, but it was really fun to have. But my goals before auditioning for this were very much, I wanted to do theater and film. I love acting. I really enjoy acting. I would love to do commercials on the side. That sounds like the absolute dream, to just, be handed any kind of script for whatever and be able to create some kind of character. But honestly, ever since I've been able to start this project, I've realized that there's this whole other world that I never completely considered, and voice acting and narration that is so incredibly fun. And like Elizabeth, I'm an avid reader. I read all the time and I listen to audiobooks. I told her, I think one of the first times we called, that I will have the book, the physical copy, the ebook, and the audiobook of the same book, so that I have 3 different versions that I can just read at any point in time on my phone, on my Kindle. And so it's a really fun way that I have a passion for reading and a passion for theater, and just to combine those two was just an absolute joy, and something that I didn't realize that I could get into and be able to do as a career. It's just honestly been such a godsend. So
Wow, that is so cool to hear how it's kind of led you on a path and even helped you be more defined. Melissa and I both, when we
yes,
first
sir.
heard your voice, we said, she is so stinking cute. It's just her voice. She's great. And then
Are we
now
talking about her or me?
Well, that I already told Melissa that in a different way. No, Elizabeth and I have met in person, and she's stinking cute too.
Yeah.
She's a lot of fun. But Camryn, All right, I'm seeing this is a natural. You've got the gift for voiceover and for acting and just for embodying whoever you're being. How and I could picture some other people saying, I want to do what she's doing. I like the acting part, but I'm maybe a little bit intimidated by the technical. Was that part hard to learn? How to record your voice and upload it and send it to me for production?
Well, that's all on you. I mean, I had used GarageBand like once or twice before, just fiddling around, but just being able to talk to you. And I mean, we had, Zoom calls, and like I was texting you constantly trying to ask about, okay, what should my compression be at? Like, where do these numbers need to be in order for me to get, the best, vocal performance that I can have, and for it to be, a smooth production. And you were so wonderful. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of voice actors out there don't have somebody like you. So I don't know what exactly that process would look like without somebody who has a lot of experience. But I mean, other than that, it's very much, you have to put the time into it. Like with anything, you have to be able to put the time into it and the concentration, and have a motivation to actually want to learn how to do something like that. So I was very excited and, very eager to know what I was doing wrong and like what I could do better every single time. So I think coming to it with an attitude of, I can do this and I want to do this, is something that, everybody should have.
Yeah,
I
that was
I
the other
think
thing.
another, oh,
Oh, I was just gonna say that was the other thing that impressed both Elizabeth and me was your adaptability. And I just have to say, from a sound perspective, you caught on really quickly. And I'll ask you something in a minute, but I want to hear what you were going to say, Elizabeth, about that.
I was just going to say that because the actors strike, all the things that are going on, Camryn has availability right now, I'm pretty sure. So if anybody's listening here, this woman can whip you out a book in no time. That was all.
Yeah, no, amen to that. And I agree with Elizabeth. I want people to discover you more. I know you've got a following, I'm sure, with your Instagram and people that already know you, but you deserve to be known by a lot more. So all that said, I did want to say, with this recording part, you made it sound pretty easy. Did you have to learn GarageBand? Had you ever done anything like this before? Was that part hard at all? I'm thinking of those people who are going, but I don't know the technology. And I have struggled with other narrators sometimes who didn't catch on quite as fast as you have.
It was definitely hard. I mean, the only GarageBand experience I ever had was when I first opened my Mac and it was installed on there previously. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Let's like just tamper around with it. But nothing to a degree of like recording my voice so that it actually has, a good sound quality. I, most of the time just use my iPhone for auditions and whatnot. So that was a learning curve, and something that, if I had the forethought, if I had known, I think that I would have familiarized myself with something like that a lot earlier on, and my college career. But
yeah, awesome.
But
So
you've got it now.
absolutely.
thank goodness.
Yeah, because there are a lot of factors. I don't think people who've never done this before or done it professionally don't realize not just the technology factors of figuring out GarageBand, Audacity, whatever program you're using, software, but there is the element of computer fan noise, background sounds, dogs barking, husbands, wives, children, that family around. It's hard. It is hard, and it can be very tiring. Did you find yourself ever getting tired while doing this? And I don't mean tired of it. I mean, just, is it exhausting to you, even though you love it?
It's and exhausting in a different way. Like, right, I never got tired of reading the book, but I did find myself, it's a different avenue than, just being on stage or like saying your lines or something. You're reading the entire thing. You're doing all of the voices. And I would find myself doing like, 4 or 5 hours of recording and then being like, I can't talk for the rest of the day. I can't. I'm like, my voice box needs to rest, and my brain needs to not think about the words coming out of my mouth. So like
Yes.
in that way, definitely it was, slightly tiring, but if my voice box was able to talk, without any exhaustion, I would read these books for, eternity. They're so good. But
They are good, aren't they? So Elizabeth, you're getting these files from Camryn. Obviously, when you first heard her voice, it was love at first listen. Did the honeymoon ever end? How did you feel as you were getting that's kind of a funny question to ask, but how did you feel?
Well, yeah, because sadly she chose to go with her husband and not me, but actually, no, I'm kidding. No, it was like, I have to say that I get tired of listening to it the third or fourth time, mainly because I'm listening so intently just to make sure. I mostly don't look at the book, but occasionally I will read the book along with whoever's narrating, Susie or you, just to make sure that there's little things. But basically, I'm listening pretty intently. And, I got ADHD, I've got dyslexia, you name it, I've got it. And so for me to sit there and really concentrate is hard. But what I found I was doing, like the way the files were sent to me, I couldn't play it on my phone. And I was so loving her voice. I wanted to listen to it while I drove an hour. So you'd have to go from one file to another to another. So I'm writing to you and saying, Brett, send it some other way so I can listen to this. I just love her voice. I am just so in love with that voice that I don't get tired of it. I don't know why, but I don't. I love Susie's too, but there's something about Camryn's, it's just, maybe it's back to my Auburn roots, or because I actually went to Auburn too. I don't know. Anyway, maybe that's why I moved to the South, because I just like, Southern accents. I can't do it. Don't even try. Can't do an Australian one either. No, I did not. No, I loved it.
Yeah.
I'd listen. Yeah. I got to get a copy for myself for the whole book so I can start listening as I drive.
Yeah.
Brett.
Yes, we'll get them in order now. We're figuring that out too as we go. I've learned a lot from you, Elizabeth, and from doing this project. And now that in the transition to, thank goodness, Camryn, there's book 4, and you and Susie both get to be in this one. And I'm enjoying getting files from both of you. So I'm going to be mixing those two together as if you're in the same room. I wish we could get everybody together and just knock it out in a couple of days, but this is the second best way to do it. Are you looking forward to this book 4? Any thoughts on that?
I am. Yeah. I'm just really excited to get ready, like to start doing it. I mean, I'm so excited for, her this next, without giving anything away. I think that it's going to be
no spoiler.
A good journey.
That's good. How about Elizabeth?
In audiobooks, Audible, there's a sample out, and that sample has really caught a lot of people. There's more downloads of that book for the initial, like, nobody knows. We haven't done any ads. We haven't done any. I'm making a video trailer. I'm doing some things now, but we haven't done anything other than I've just sent it on my little Facebook account. And yet I have people just, instantly said, I said, we might get some free promos and things like that, which hasn't happened yet. But I've had 2 or 3 people say, I couldn't wait. I downloaded it already, just based on the excerpt that we did.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, just to highlight your capabilities, if you can flip through to the, the area where she discovers that Dwight is not who she thought he was, because you do his voice and you do the other woman's voice too. And it's not giving anything away because it all happens within the first 10 pages or so, I think. I mean, it's pretty quick. Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty quick. So if you can do that and show how you do a male voice, I think that would also be something, because this is Camryn McGlynn Day.
Hey, amen.
Let me see if I can find it.
And I love that it's not
chapter
Dwight.
2. It's chapter 2.
Yeah. I love that it's not Dwight, but it's Dwight. That's the Southern way of saying Dwight.
Dwight.
I love it.
I know
Okay.
that when I was at Auburn, everybody kept saying, well, why don't you talk like us? And I go, I'm trying, I can't do it. They said, just add another syllable to every single word you say, and then you'll be fine.
I still say y'all from having lived in Tennessee, so
It's addicting. It's
it is.
addicting. You'll just say it.
It's easy to
Yeah.
pick up just the draw. One, if you live there or there very long, it is easy to pick up.
It is. Okay, I have it right here.
Yeah.
I haven't done this chapter in a long time, so
This is the improv side of Camryn showing here.
this is here, I'll start right here. It took several knocks before Dwight came out. Surprise! When I threw my arms around him, he backed away. What the hell are you doing here? He was shocked. He was not surprised in a happy way. He tried to push me out the door. What's going on? I didn't understand. This is horrible timing, baby. I thought you were hiking with your family. I heard a woman's voice from the back. Dwight, what's going on? Only a second passed before I realized the world I lived in no longer existed. When I looked at him, I could see the betrayal etched on his face. How long, Dwight? He didn't answer.
Really good. Yeah. So be sure to throw that one in, Brett, because that does show her ability to do voices and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. Thanks, Camryn, for being willing to just jump in and do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we want to see you dance and sing. No, I'm just kidding. So Elizabeth, has this affected your future writing at all? Have you thought of anything different with
yes.
Let's hear about
yes. Okay. Well, Lauren already showed up in another book. She showed up. The other series that I did is called Catch and Release. And at there's 3 books now. One is in production, 2 are published. The second book, the character, Maggie, goes back to Australia she's an American vet that retired, like me, moved back to America, like me, and bought a cabin, like me. And then she ends up with all kinds of adventures. So, but she had a covenant when she sold her practice that she had to go back for a month and work in the practice for a month. So the family that bought it could get away and travel and stuff. So she's back there, and the fellow that she's working with, because it's a very busy practice, has to leave on an emergency. So her secretary, Jody, and by the way, my secretary in Australia was Jody, and she comes and works at the practice. So they meet, and it's so Lauren's working with Maggie. So that joins my fly fishing catch and release series with my Travels of Rebecca Harper series. In book 3, Lauren comes to the wedding. Maggie eventually gets married, and Lauren comes to the wedding. And not only that, is that Maggie and Rebecca Harper were classmates in veterinary school. Oh. So obviously Rebecca Harper is dead to the world, and and she's no longer around. But because they were classmates in veterinary school, Jeff Harper, Lauren's father, was also her instructor. And so Jeff Harper is very old, but he comes to the wedding as well. And then things happen. So I'm not going to say anymore.
Very intriguing.
So they get married up. But I think what's happened is that despite the fact that was the end of the book, the end of book 4, as soon as I finished 2 other books that are partially written, pretty well written. I'm going to start book 5 in the series.
Yay.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
That's good
Yeah.
news.
Separated. She was wild, and she got separated from her herd in a storm, and I was out in the storm with my own 2 dogs. So she kind of got mixed up, and she followed me and my dogs home instead of her group. And she sat in the woods for a couple weeks, and I fed her. I put food out. She wouldn't even remotely come to the house or anything, but eventually I tamed her. Eventually, my male dog impregnated her, and eventually I did my first spay on her as a pregnant dog. So I did it. But long and short is that I had her until I moved to Australia, and she was just one of the best dogs I ever owned. She was so kind. She was so loving. I just cannot say enough things about her. Her name was Ladybug, but as short, we called her LB. And so I just used her in the book. And that was one of the things that I really liked about it. And I still have a pic. I mean, I have lots of pictures of her, but this is one that makes me, that's my stepson, Duncan, and that's her. And she just was a kind dog. And so I've had some incredibly good dogs, great dogs and great horses over the years, but she was really special.
You can tell the way you wrote her into this book. First of all, I want to say your stories, Elizabeth, are so rich and diverse. The characters, not just human, but animal as well.
Yeah.
And I think if you hadn't been a vet, just your experience, your years, 30 plus years experience as a veterinarian, have really lent themselves well to these stories. I think
about 10 years on that.
It's more than that, 30, 40 plus. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you had people asking you to write for their journals, veterinary journals and all, because of your experiences with horses that had burned in Australia and all that.
Yeah. I'm still doing stuff. I'm going to go speak at Washington State University on some stuff. And I am writing a chapter for a book on emergency care on burns and horses. So those are all things. So man, I'm sitting around almost gaining weight because I'm not doing anything. I'm just writing all day long.
I've seen you in person. It'd take a long time for you to gain weight. Plus, you're always busy fly fishing too, aren't you? And riding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not this time of year. And I didn't make it out to Colorado this year. I had some other things that kind of got in the way. So
I'll get you out next year, hopefully.
Yeah, we only fish in the winter and in the cooler season because it's too stressful on the fish. It gets really hot. So yeah, but my life is pretty full. I'm pretty happy with everything. And now that I've met you guys, sky is the limit. We've got more books to go.
Amen.
So I've got I'm gonna not sure if it's going to be Camryn or not, but I'm hoping it is. The next book that I want to do after the 4th book in the time travel series is Small Town Secrets, which is a book that I wrote in Australia while I was waiting to get permission, because as we remember on the last one, this really should have been about Bonanza, but it wasn't. So we used a similar name, Comstock, for the television series that's associated with all of this. And in the meantime, I thought, well, what should I write that people would like? Well, they kind of like cozy mysteries and stuff like that. So I wrote one about an American vet who moved to Australia and eventually is accused of murder. And it's called Small Town Secrets. And it actually won a prestigious award for as the best cozy mystery with Chanticleer International Book Awards. And so that's the next one that I'd really like to do. So again, this woman doesn't have to have an Australian accent, but if she can throw in if she practices her Australian, obviously most of the people around her will have Australian accents. So she'll have to eventually do some Aussie.
There's the challenge.
So yeah, so that's that one. And then, you know, the time travel series, and then or sorry, the catch and release series, and you know, there's all these projects, and I just think audiobooks are the way to go. And I think you know, I want all my books to be audios.
I love it. Not just because
So get ready.
I was going to say, I agree, not just because I'm a producer of audiobooks, but because just like you,
Yeah.
big fan of audiobooks. I do a lot of traveling here on the Front Range
Yeah.
of Colorado, up to the mountains, up to Estes Park and beyond. And I listen to audiobooks all the time. And now I have real ones that not only, you know, I enjoy just because I enjoy them, but ones that I get a chance to work on and listen to while I'm traveling.
Yeah.
You can't ask for a better life, is to be able to do something that you enjoy with the people you enjoy doing it with. You guys are right
Yeah.
there. I'm so blessed to have both you, Camryn, you and you, Elizabeth, in on this. Thank you.
Yeah. So another, just a quick anecdote about Camryn and just how good she is. As you know, a couple of days ago, we had a hurricane come through, and it was, everybody kept calling or writing to me and saying, you know, how are you doing? How are you doing? I said, sunny skies, tiny bit of wind, occasionally a cloud. It just went south of me. But Camryn moved from Auburn to Savannah, and she got hit. And so I called her and I said, I think we should put this podcast off, because we were going to do it a couple of days ago. And she goes, yeah. I said, so what are you up to? And she goes, oh, I've got pillows, and we're sitting in the bathroom together, and we're kind of trying to write it out. In all of this, I sent her something, and I'm trying to do this trailer for video trailer for the book. I said, can you read this and send it to me? An hour later, I have it. In all of this. So this woman can work tough. So just so people understand, and under dire circumstances. And I couldn't hear anything. It sounded really good. I didn't hear the, you know, the wind or the lightning or anything. So it was really good. But sadly, we have to do it again, because I changed the script a bit.
I'm excited for it.
And you're all your houses. This is your home you're in now, Camryn, right? You're all as well there.
All as well. Yes. Yes. By the time they said it got to us, it was like, it had gone down to a hurricane category 1, and then it was just downgraded to a tropical storm. So we had some bad wind, but we had bad wind, some thunderstorms, and just power outages and tornado warnings, but nothing like crazy things. But thankfully, like, no devastation, or like, you know, a lot of people got hit a lot worse. So we're blessed.
It was big. Glad you're okay.
Yeah.
It's good news.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we got book 4 to kick into gear, but we also got this one to promote. I guess we'll hit both at the same time, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on I did a video trailer for book 1. I didn't do one for book 2, but this one I really do want to do it. And I really wanted to put Camryn's voice in, because I find that her voice is a hook for people. So, and I don't have to pay her any extra for it. No, I'm just kidding. I'll pay her extra.
She might be on a set.
But there's,
I was gonna say, we better pay her extra, because she might be on a set that Reese Witherspoon had turned down because she's doing something else. So
yeah. Well, I just feel I don't feel, there's something funny about this book. I mean, first of all, it was, again, one of my favorites, and I loved Lauren, and I loved her kind of whimsical way, and she's in the modern times, and so she's not having to deal with things from other time periods. She's dealing with the here and the now. And she's you know, like a lot of, everybody says, well, they see me and their character in the characters that I write about, and I went, darn right, that's what I do. So, but she's got a good sense of humor, and she's, you know, resourceful, and very much like me when I first started out, you know, like oh boy, I get to do this. Oh my God, I got to go do this. You know, it was kind of like backwards and forwards. And but there's something about Camryn that I think she's gonna make me famous. So I'm gonna try to make her famous too. So anyway.
This is so exciting to be at this point in the project. And obviously, this is September 1st. If for those who are watching, Lauren's story just came out. It was released on Amazon Audible, but we're going to have it uploaded to all the other places on Findaway Voices, the Spotify and Chirp, Apple, Google, Scribd, Storytel, etc. libraries. So go rush and get it. Thank goodness it's audiobook, so you won't run out, but it's definitely worth hearing. But then you'll have to listen to the whole, starting from the beginning, because it's a fascinating story. If you love time travel, if you love romance, if you love Westerns, if you love really good voiceover actresses and good authors, you'll love this book and the whole series.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about the mix between Susie and Camryn. We're not going to mix them. Basically, everybody's going to do a part, and then the next person does a part, and then we're not going to try to put voices into the middle of things. But I think it's going to be really exciting. I've listened to a lot of ensemble books, and I really like them. I've always wanted to do an ensemble one, but anyway, we'll see how that goes, and then hopefully we'll get some more stuff going, and yeah, hopefully we'll keep her a bit busy. So
yeah,
but then again, let's get her out on the big screen and so people can see, because just watching your face, Camryn, when you're reading it, it's like you're not just reading it, you're doing it. So
yeah. Absolutely. Hey, I want to throw out a thank you to your new husband too, for I know that you've put a lot of time into this. He sounds like a great guy, and just to let him know that we appreciate that too, the time and he's given you to be able to do
I'll let him know.
I'm sure he'd like
and if he really wants to do something nice, he could do what we suggested earlier, and then this thing will all go viral.
I'm going to let our viewers and listeners guess what that was, unless you want. Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway.
That's great. So tell folks where we can find both of you, starting with you, Elizabeth, and then Camryn, just so in case people want to look you up. How can we find you?
I am on Facebook as Elizabeth Woolsey, but I'm also on Facebook as, I think, Elizabeth Woolsey author and Elizabeth Woolsey DVM. And I've got 3 different pages. We've combined some of it from my veterinary webpage, my personal page, and then kind of a middle one. But the big place to get most of this stuff is elizabethwoolsey.com. And then I am on Instagram and Twitter, but I don't know much about Twitter, but I'm pretty sure Cam's going to help me with that. And Instagram, I can get on and I can put a tiny little thing on, but I kind of want to up my game a little bit. So again, she and I are going to try to do a couple things. We have some ideas to help promote the book and help promote her both. So.
Well, from my perspective, this has been a sheer pleasure, just getting you two together and all of us in the same Zoom room, so to speak, and doing this. I hope we get the chance to do this again when book 4 is over, and maybe break it down a little bit more, and who knows, whatever is coming up.
And would love to get Susie on too, if we can.
Absolutely. Yeah. She travels a lot, so it's good. It'll be good to when she's back to do the same thing. So, and then maybe at some point, Camryn and Susie in the same room, all together celebrating your release of book 4.
I'd love to meet her.
Awesome. That's great. Anything else, guys, ladies?
No, where can we find you?
SkydanceMountainAudiobooks.com. Right there, there's a whole website that'll have, I'm going to have it, you'll find the Authors on the Mountain podcast there. And you can also learn more about how you can create your own audiobooks and how to find good narrators now that we've worked with. I want to have a page featuring you guys. Camryn, this is new. I haven't done this yet, but you kind of forced my hand. I want to be able to say, this is where you can get some of the best voice actors and actresses, narrators that you'll ever want. And of course, Elizabeth, you're splashed all over the page there, or the website there at Skydance Mountain as well. SkydanceMountainAudiobooks.com. Thanks for asking. Thank y'all for being here today. Thank you all, y'all watching this for being here with Camryn McGlynn and with Elizabeth Woolsey on Authors on the Mountain. I'm Brett Wilson. Glad to have you here. Stay tuned. We'll feature more great stuff coming up on Authors on the Mountain. Have a great day.
See you guys. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Camryn.
Okay.
Perfect. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Well, this wraps up today's show with author Elizabeth Woolsey and voiceover actress Camryn McGlynn. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thank you for being here today at the Skydance Mountain Author Spotlight Podcast, the show for creators across the globe, where we encourage you to get off your duff and create great stuff. We'll see you back here soon.